You've probably heard it 1,000 times. Walk more. Get your 10,000 steps. Grab those sneakers and hit the pavement. And yes, walking has its place, but here's what nobody tells you after 70. Walking alone might be keeping you mobile, but it's quietly letting the muscles that prevent falls, fractures, and nursing home admissions waste away. A landmark analysis tracking over 8,000 adults past 70 found that those who walked daily but skipped resistance work lost an average of 12% of their leg strength every 5 years, and that strength loss directly predicted who ended up in assisted living within the decade. 12% every 5 years. Think about that. By 80, you could be down a quarter of the power you need to stand up from a chair without using your hands, to catch yourself when you trip, to live independently. Here's the kicker. The single exercise that reverses this loss, that doctors and physical therapists now call the most important movement after 70, isn't a walk at all. It's something you can do in your living room in under 5 minutes, something that rebuilds the exact muscle fibers walking neglects, and something that cuts fall risk by margins so dramatic that some hospitals have started prescribing it before they'll even clear patients for discharge. I'm going to walk you through exactly why walking stops working the way you think it does once you cross 70, what that one anti-aging exercise is, how to do it safely no matter where you're starting from, and why the doctors who specialize in keeping people out of wheelchairs are now calling it non-negotiable. But first, I need you to understand 2 things that most people over 70 never hear until it's too late. Number 2 might surprise you. It's about a type of muscle fiber that disappears faster than any other after 65, and it's the reason you can walk 5 miles but still struggle to get off the toilet. Number 1 is the most important. It's the single movement pattern that, done correctly just 3 times a week, can rebuild those fibers and give you back a decade of physical confidence. And if you've already had a fall, or if your knees or hips aren't what they used to be, don't worry. I'll show you modifications that work even if you're starting from a chair. Before we go further, drop a comment and let me know how old you are and where you're watching this from. I want to know who's here and ready to take control of their strength. Alright, let's break this down. Walking is a beautiful thing. It gets you outside, it moves blood, it keeps your heart ticking along, and for decades it probably served you well. But here's the truth buried in the exercise science. Walking is a low-resistance, repetitive motion that primarily trains your slow-twitch muscle fibers, the endurance guys, and does almost nothing for your fast-twitch fibers, the power guys. Fast-twitch fibers are the ones that fire when you need to stop yourself from falling, when you push up out of a chair, when you lift a grandchild or a bag of groceries. They're the muscles of quick reaction and force. And after 65, you lose fast-twitch fibers at double the rate of slow-twitch. Some research suggests you can lose up to 30% of your fast-twitch capacity between 70 and 80 if you don't actively train them. Walking doesn't train them. It can't. The load is too light, the demand is too low, and your body has no reason to keep those explosive fibers around if you never ask them to work. So you can walk 5,000 steps, 10,000 steps, and still find yourself weaker year over year in the movements that actually matter for independence. That's the gap nobody talks about. You feel like you're doing everything right, but the strength that keeps you safe is slipping away beneath the surface. Now let me tell you about Margaret. She's 73, used to be a school librarian, and she walked every morning for 40 minutes without fail. She felt great. But one afternoon she stumbled on a curb, and instead of catching herself, her legs just buckled. She broke her wrist and spent 6 weeks in a brace, terrified that next time it would be a hip. When she came to see me, I had her try to stand up from a standard height chair without using her hands. She couldn't do it. Not even once. Her walking had kept her cardiovascular system humming, but her quads, her glutes, the muscles that generate upward force, they'd been quietly atrophying. We started her on one exercise, the one I'm about to show you, twice a week. Within 3 weeks, she could stand unassisted. Within 2 months, she could do it 10 times in a row, and she told me she felt more stable on her feet than she had in 5 years. So what is this exercise? It's the sit-to-stand, also called the chair squat. That's it. Sitting down into a chair and standing back up, deliberately, with control, and ideally without using your hands. It sounds almost stupidly simple, but it is the single most functional movement you can train after 70. It mimics exactly what you do dozens of times a day, getting out of bed, off the toilet, out of a car, and it loads your quads, glutes, hamstrings, and core in a way that walking never will. It forces your body to recruit those fast-twitch fibers. It builds the power you need to catch yourself. And because you can adjust the height of the chair, the speed, and whether or not you use your hands, it's infinitely scalable, which means it works whether you're recovering from surgery or you're already pretty strong. Here's the protocol. Find a sturdy chair with no wheels, something like a kitchen or dining chair, with a seat about 16 to 18 inches off the ground. Sit down fully, feet flat on the floor, hip width apart, knees over your toes. Now stand up, pushing through your heels, and sit back down with control. Don't just drop into the seat. Lower yourself slowly. That eccentric phase is where a huge chunk of the strength building happens. If you can't stand up without using your hands yet, that's fine. Start by pushing off your thighs or the armrests. Your goal is to reduce how much you rely on your hands over time. If the chair is too low and you can't get up at all, stack a firm cushion on the seat to raise it a few inches. As you get stronger, remove the cushion. Progression is built right in. Aim for 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions, 3 times a week. That's it. On your off days, walk if you want to, but this is your strength anchor. And here's a safety note. If you have knee pain, don't let your knees cave inward. Keep them tracking over your toes. If you have balance issues, start with the chair backed against a wall and keep a countertop nearby for a light touch if needed. If you've had a hip replacement, check with your physical therapist, but in most cases, sit to stand is not only safe, it's exactly what they'll prescribe to rebuild your hip strength. Now here's where it gets even better. This one exercise doesn't just prevent falls. It's been linked to longer life. A Brazilian study followed over 2,000 adults in their 60s and 70s and found that the ability to sit on the floor and stand back up without support, a harder version of the same movement, was one of the strongest predictors of all-cause mortality over the next 6 years. People who could do it had a fraction of the death risk of those who couldn't. But because the strength, balance, and flexibility required to get up and down from the ground reflect your entire musculoskeletal reserve, and that reserve is what keeps you alive and independent. The sit-to-stand from a chair is the entry point to that reserve. It's the movement that says, I'm not fragile, I'm strong, and I can handle the physical demands of my own life. Let me tell you about Robert. He's 76, a retired electrician, and he had stopped doing anything that felt like exercise because his knees hurt and he was worried about making it worse. He spent most of his day in a recliner. His daughter convinced him to try sit-to-stands using a dining chair with a thick cushion, so the seat was high, and he was allowed to push off the armrests. He did 5 reps twice a day, that's it. After 10 days, he tried it without the armrests. After 3 weeks, we removed the cushion. After 2 months, he was doing 3 sets of 12 from a standard chair, no hands, and he told me his knees actually hurt less because the muscles around them were finally doing their job again. He started walking his dog again. He started playing with his grandson on the floor. One exercise unlocked all of that. But here's the thing most people miss. The sit-to-stand works because it's hard enough to create a training stimulus but functional enough that the strength you build transfers immediately to real life. You're not doing some abstract gym movement. You're training the exact pattern you need to stay independent. And the resistance is your own body weight, so you can't overtrain or hurt yourself the way you might with heavy weights if you don't know what you're doing. It's self-limiting. If you're too tired, you'll just sit down. If you're too weak, you'll use your hands. And as you get stronger, you naturally use your hands less, lower the seat, or add a pause at the bottom. The progression is intuitive. Now let's talk about what happens if you don't do this. If you keep walking and nothing else, you'll likely stay mobile in the short term, but your strength reserve, the buffer that protects you when something unexpected happens, will keep shrinking. And one day, maybe it's a wet floor, maybe it's a moment of dizziness, you'll fall, and your body won't have the power to catch you. A fall after 70 is not a minor event. It's the #1 cause of injury-related death in older adults, and even if you survive it, the fear of falling again often leads people to move less, which leads to more muscle loss, more falls, and a spiral that ends in dependence. The sit-to-stand breaks that spiral. It builds a physical margin of safety. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you start getting stronger. Margaret told me that the first time she stood up from a chair without thinking about it, without bracing herself or wondering if she could do it, she felt like herself again. Not the careful, fragile version she'd become, but the woman who used to rearrange furniture and carry boxes. Strength is freedom. It's not about vanity or fitness for the sake of fitness. It's about keeping the life you have. Here's a bonus modification. If you want to make the sit-to-stand even more powerful, try adding a 3-second pause at the bottom before you stand. So you sit down, pause for 3 seconds, then explode up. That pause eliminates momentum and forces your muscles to generate all the force from a dead stop, which is exactly what you need when you're getting out of a low car seat or off the floor. It's harder, so only add the pause once you can do 10 regular reps without hands. Another progression, try it on one leg. Sit down normally, but when you stand, shift your weight to one leg and lift the other foot slightly off the ground as you rise. This trains single leg strength and balance, which is critical because most falls happen when you're on one foot mid-step. Start with a light touch on a counter for balance, and only try this once you're really solid on 2 legs. Let me tell you about Linda. She's 71, used to be a nurse, and she thought she was in decent shape because she walked her neighborhood every day. But she noticed she was avoiding certain things, like sitting on the floor with her grandkids, because getting back up was hard and embarrassing. I introduced her to the sit-to-stand and also had her practice lowering herself to a very low stool, about 12 inches high, and standing back up. It was brutal at first. She could barely do 3 reps, but she stuck with it, twice a week, and within 6 weeks she got down on the floor during a family gathering, played with the kids, and stood back up on her own. She said it felt like winning a marathon. That's the power of rebuilding functional strength. Now I need to address something important. Some of you are thinking I have arthritis, or my knees are bone on bone, or I've had surgery and squatting sounds dangerous. I get it. But here's the truth. Movement is medicine for joints, not the enemy. When you move a joint through its range of motion under load, you pump nutrient-rich fluid into the cartilage and keep it healthy. Sitting still actually accelerates degeneration. That said, you have to start where you are. If a standard chair is too low, use a higher surface, even a kitchen counter if you need to, and just practice the motion of bending your knees and hips and standing back up. Over time, lower the surface. If it hurts, back off, but if it's just uncomfortable because the muscles are weak, that's different. That discomfort is your body adapting. If you're unsure, ask a physical therapist to watch your form once. Most will tell you the sit-to-stand is exactly what they'd prescribe. Here's a quick test for you right now, wherever you are. If you're sitting, try to stand up without using your hands. Don't hurt yourself, but just see if you can do it. If you can, great, you've got a baseline. If you can't, or if it's a real struggle, that's your starting point, and that's okay. Now you know what to work on. And if you can do it easily, try it with a 3-second pause at the bottom, or try lowering yourself to a coffee table height and standing back up. There's always a progression. The science behind this is straightforward. When you load a muscle near its maximum capacity, even if that maximum is just lifting your own body weight right now, you create micro-damage in the muscle fibers. Your body repairs that damage and builds the fibers back stronger and thicker. This process, called hypertrophy, happens at any age. Studies on people in their 80s and 90s have shown that with consistent resistance training, they can double or even triple their leg strength in a matter of months. Your age is not the limiting factor. The limiting factor is whether you're giving your muscles a reason to grow. Walking doesn't provide that reason. The sit-to-stand does. There's also a hormonal benefit. Resistance exercise, even something as simple as repeated sit-to-stands, triggers a release of growth hormone and testosterone, yes, even in older adults, and those hormones help maintain muscle mass, bone density, and metabolic health. You're not just building leg strength. You're sending a signal to your entire body that you're still in the game, that you need to stay strong and capable. That signal matters. Now let's talk about balance, because fall prevention isn't just about strength. It's also about proprioception, your body's sense of where it is in space. The sit-to-stand challenges your balance because you're shifting your center of mass up and down, and your body has to constantly adjust to stay stable. Over time, this trains your nervous system to react faster and more accurately when you're off balance. It's like a rehearsal for the real thing. So when you do trip, your body has practiced the pattern of catching yourself, and it responds automatically. Here's another story. James is 78, a retired mechanic, and he fell twice in 6 months. Nothing broken, but he was shaken. His doctor told him he needed to build leg strength or he'd end up in a facility. James started doing sit-to-stands from a high chair 3 times a day, 5 reps each time. That's it. 15 reps a day. After 4 weeks, his legs felt more solid. After 8 weeks, he could do it from a normal chair, no hands, 10 times in a row. He hasn't fallen since, and he told me he feels like he got his confidence back. He's not afraid to walk to the mailbox or go to the grocery store alone anymore. That's what this exercise does. Gives you your life back. Let me also tell you what not to do. Don't rush. Speed is not the goal, especially at first. Control is the goal. If you're dropping into the chair like a sack of potatoes, you're missing half the benefit. The lowering phase, the eccentric contraction, is where a lot of the strength building happens. Take 2 to 3 seconds to sit down. Don't bounce out of the chair. Press through your heels and stand smoothly. And don't do this every single day. Your muscles need rest to repair and grow. 3 times a week is plenty. On the other days, walk, stretch, do whatever you enjoy, but give your legs a break from the hard work. Also, don't compare yourself to anyone else. If you need to use your hands at first, use them. If you need a high chair, use it. The only person you're competing with is the version of you from last week. Progress is progress, no matter how small. And if you miss a session, don't spiral. Just pick it back up the next day. Consistency over time is what builds strength, not perfection. Now I want to address the people who are already pretty strong. Maybe you can do sit-to-stands easily and you're thinking this sounds too basic. Great. Add the progressions I mentioned. Pause at the bottom. Try single leg variations. Lower the seat height. Or try the ultimate version. Sit on the floor cross-legged and stand up without using your hands or touching anything. If you can do that, you're in elite company. Most people under 50 can't do it. If you can't yet, work toward it. Start by sitting on a low stool and standing, then a stack of pillows, then the floor. It might take months, but it's a goal worth chasing because it represents total body strength, balance, and mobility. Here's the broader principle. After 70, your body doesn't need more walking. It needs more challenge. It needs to be asked to do hard things in safe, controlled ways so it has a reason to stay strong. The sit-to-stand is the simplest, most accessible way to deliver that challenge. It's the exercise that every physical therapist, every geriatrician, every strength coach who works with older adults will tell you is essential. It's not flashy. It's not trendy. But it works. Let me tell you about Dorothy. She's 82, a retired teacher, and she lives alone. She was terrified of ending up in a nursing home like her sister, who fell and broke a hip at 80 and never recovered her independence. Dorothy started doing sit-to-stands every morning after breakfast, using a sturdy kitchen chair. She did 5 reps the first week, then 8, then 10. After 3 months, she added a second set in the evening. She's been doing this for a year now, and she told me she feels stronger at 83 than she did at 75. She still lives alone. She still does her own shopping. She still travels to visit her kids. That's the goal. Not to be an athlete. Just to be independent, capable, and free. Here's the reality. Most people over 70 are one fall away from losing their independence. One fall, one fracture, one hospital stay that leads to deconditioning and a slow decline. The sit-to-stand is the insurance policy against that future. It's the movement that keeps you out of that statistic. And the best part is, you don't need a gym, you don't need equipment, you don't need to drive anywhere. You just need a chair and 5 minutes, 3 times a week. I also want to mention that this exercise pairs beautifully with walking. I'm not saying stop walking. Walk for your heart, for your mood, for fresh air and sunlight. But add the sit-to-stand for your strength. Think of walking as your foundation and the sit-to-stand as the structure you build on top of it. Together, they give you the cardiovascular health and the muscular power you need to age well. Now let's talk about tracking progress, because it's motivating to see improvement. Every 2 weeks, test yourself. See how many sit-to-stands you can do in a row with good form before you need to rest. Write it down. When that number goes up, and it will, you'll have proof that you're getting stronger. Or test how high the chair needs to be. If you started with a cushion and now you can do it without, that's progress. If you used to push off your thighs and now you can keep your hands on your chest, that's progress. Celebrate those wins. They're not small. They're the building blocks of a strong, independent life. Here's another key point. The sit-to-stand also protects your bones. Weight-bearing exercise, where your bones are loaded through your skeleton, stimulates bone growth and slows osteoporosis. Walking does this to some extent, but the forces are small. The sit-to-stand loads your femurs, your hips, your spine with much more force because you're lifting your entire body weight. That mechanical stress tells your bones to stay dense and strong. For women especially, who lose bone density faster after menopause, this is critical. You're not just preventing falls. You're making sure that if you do fall, your bones are strong enough to handle it. Let me tell you about Carl. He's 74, a retired truck driver, and he had a bone density scan that showed osteopenia, the precursor to osteoporosis. His doctor told him to lift weights, but Carl had never set foot in a gym and wasn't about to start. I told him about the sit-to-stand. He started doing 3 sets of 8, 3 times a week, from a dining chair. A year later, his follow-up scan showed his bone density had stabilized and even improved slightly in his hips. His doctor was surprised. Carl wasn't. He said he felt it. His legs felt solid. He trusted them again. That's the power of consistent, load-bearing movement. Now I need to talk about the mental side of this, because strength is not just physical. When you get stronger, when you prove to yourself that you can do something today that you couldn't do a month ago, it changes how you see yourself. You stop thinking of yourself as old or fragile. You start thinking of yourself as capable. That mindset shift is enormous. It affects everything from how you interact with your family to whether you're willing to try new things. Strength breeds confidence, and confidence keeps you engaged in life. There's also a social component. A lot of people over 70 become isolated because they're afraid they can't keep up, can't handle the physical demands of social activities. If you're strong enough to get up and down easily, you're more likely to say yes to that dinner invitation, that family gathering, that trip to see a friend. You're not held back by your body. The sit-to-stand is a gateway to staying connected. Here's a final modification for people who are very deconditioned or recovering from illness. If even a high chair is too much, start with a countertop or a sturdy table. Place your hands on the surface, lean your weight into your hands, and practice just bending your knees and hips and straightening them again, like a standing squat. You're still training the movement pattern, and as you get stronger, you can transition to a chair. There's always a way to start, no matter where you are. Let me also say this. If you've made it this far in the video, you're already ahead of most people because you're willing to learn and take action. The question is, will you actually do it? Will you find a chair today, right after this video, and try 10 sit-to-stands? Will you do it again in 2 days, and then again 2 days after that? Because that's all it takes. Consistency. Not perfection, not intensity, just showing up 3 times a week and doing the work. That's how you change the trajectory of your aging. Here's the takeaway. Walking is great, but it's not enough. After 70, you need to train the strength and power that walking can't touch. The sit-to-stand is that training. It's simple, it's safe, it's scalable, and it works. It rebuilds the muscles that prevent falls, fractures, and dependence. It keeps you strong enough to live the life you want, not the life your body forces you to accept. Doctors recommend it. Physical therapists prescribe it. And the people who do it consistently report feeling younger, more confident, and more capable than they have in years. So here's my question for you, and I want you to comment below. Are you going to try the sit-to-stand? And if you've already been doing it, how has it changed things for you? Let me know. I read every comment, and I want to hear your story.